Greetings. Welcome to the Road Cook. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you had a pleasant holidays. Like to send a shout out, say hello to my new friends Mila and Zlata in Ukraine. Bushka, Ukraine. Hello from America. How are you? Today we're making New England style clam chowder. I say New England style because, of course, this is my own recipe. We'll put a few twists on it. A lot of pieces to it, but very simple. So, without further ado, let's get started. We're going to take 1 stick of butter, and we are going to brown up about 8 ounces of diced up bacon. I'm willing to bet my pot's not going to be big enough, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. This should be enough clam chowder to do about 4 to 6 servings, depending on the size and hunger of the crowd. This is also very unique. It's a first for me, because this is the first time that I ever wrote this recipe down and actually figured out the measurements. In the past, I've just eyeballed it. So, of course, feel free to eyeball anything you want. You can add less butter, more butter, same with the bacon or any of the other ingredients. Very straightforward, very simple. To this, where are you? We are going to add, some people like to make sure that bacon's good and brown before they go on. I don't really care. You know, I'm going to get it nice and firm, I'm going to get a good flavor, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over if it's super crispy or not. Again, that's a personal choice. To that, I'm going to add about 1 cup of diced onion. Then about 1 cup of diced celery. This chowder's kind of unique, and chowders will get like this, whereas you've seen me in the past use either a Trinity or a mirepoix, so it would have a carrot or a bell pepper. This has neither. We're just going to go with the onion and the celery. Clam chowder, the New England style clam chowder, really is basically a potato soup or a potato chowder? Potato soup, whatever. It's thick potato soup that you add the clams to, in essence. You'll also notice as I do this that I do not add salt. The reason I don't add the salt is because between the bacon and the clams and the clam juice or stock, whichever you prefer to use, there's enough salt. Again, you want to add salt, add salt. I don't. Try to keep that stuff healthy. What we're doing now with the bacon and onion, celery, and butter is basically we're going to make our roux. And fortunately, this particular bacon we made here at home, so I already know how far along it's been cooked. And all I really want to do in this case is sweat it a little bit. I have also made this on the boats many times by using leftover bacon from breakfast. Just crumble it up and throw it in there. If it's not enough grease, add a little bacon grease or a little fresh bacon, or just add a little extra butter. Whatever turns you on. You can see she's bubbly. And really at this point, I'm more concerned over a good saute on the celery and the onion, getting that onion to have a decent translucency to it. That's my main purpose here. All right, we're going to back this heat down a bit. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of flour. If you're not comfortable doing this already thickened up in the beginning, because some people would say it's backwards, you can reserve some of the butter and mix it with the flour, melt it and mix it with the flour at the end and add it to the stock. You can also use cornstarch and water in a slurry at the end if you wish. I've just done this enough that I enjoy doing it this way. This is a little on the thin side. Let's see if you can get some of that grease in there. You know, usually when you make a flour or a roux with flour and oil, it would be tighter. Don't worry about it because potatoes are going into this. And what I did is I diced the potatoes ahead of time and I put them in a little fresh, cool water so they wouldn't turn brown. And water and all will go into this. So you will have, in addition to this flour, quarter cup of flour, you're also going to have all that nice healthy starch from the potatoes. Alright, so we got a little tightness here and she's starting to brown along the bottom. So now what I want to do is deglaze. So I'm going to take, first of all, I'm going to take the canned clams I have. Yeah, fresh is better, don't have them. Take the canned clams I have and I'm going to drain off the juice. Don't put the clams in now. The clams go in very last or else they will turn to either rubber or mush. And I've got 2 cans of clams. Total weight's approximately 20 ounces between the two. That does include the liquid. You can always add more. If you're using a fresh clam, you may not have enough juice. You might want to add extra stock or extra clam juice. I generally use a clam stock because I can control the intensity of the flavor better. Couldn't find the product that I like. So I ended up going with clam juice. That's fine. Just make sure you shake it up. You want all that clammy goodness in there. And that goes in the pot. Get this thing boiling again. Won't take long. The longest part of the clam chowder cook is the potatoes. And when you put the potatoes in, you'll have a couple of choices. You can put them in and just let it simmer like that until the potatoes become al dente. Or you can put it together pretty much completely and then let it cook from there. What we're going to do today, for the sake of the shoot, is we'll put it together pretty much completely, and while it's simmering, I'll pause the shoot and then come back to it when it's completed. Whole thing doesn't take an hour. I mean, generally, if you're working on a boat with a big pot, or if you're working with a big pot and you're, can throw some extra heat at it, you could probably knock it out in a half hour. Here with this, I'm being a little careful because I'm not used to cooking such a small amount, which for me is easy to burn and screw up. That's why I deglazed it early with the clam juice. And now we're going to, oh yeah, oh, it's starting to thicken up already. That's beautiful. Okay. We got a boil here. Not bad. I don't want the heat to be too harsh. We got a little bit of a boil, so now I'm going to go ahead and add the potatoes. I've got, it calls for 3 or 4 medium-sized potatoes, personal choice. I've got a nice bowl of potatoes. There's about 3, yeah, there's about 3 medium-sized red potatoes in here. I prefer the Yukon or the yellow potatoes, but they weren't available. So, my reds go in, and yes, I leave the skin intact, get all that healthy goodness in there. Scrape her out nice, get all that starch in there. That starch is going to help finish this off wonderfully. Okay, gotten to this point, we're running very close to a traditional style New England clam chowder. This is where I throw a few curveballs at it. To this, I am going to add 1 tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Probably a bit much, but there's a lot of cream that's going to go into this and that'll soften up. Again, you never want to taste the cayenne. That's not what it's there for. You might get a little mild after burn, but the cayenne is one of those ingredients that if it's not there, you go, something's missing. But if it's there to enhance the flavors, you go, just right. Okay, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. If you don't care for heat or peppers and stuff like that, start out with a 1/2 teaspoon and go up. Down here in Texas, we're kind of acclimated. Okay. Last ingredient that I call my own, dill weed. Fresh is always best. What did I say on my thing? Yeah, I said a small bunch or a small bundle of dill. Most stores will carry the fresh dill, baby dill, in little plastic packages. I chop up pretty much most of that for something like this, adjust accordingly. In this case, all I had was a dried dill weed, so we're going to throw a tablespoon of dill weed in there. All right. Now, what we need to do next is add the cream. I want to establish the thickness, so I'm going to put the cream and the clams in very last. Right now, we're going to turn this heat down. Cover it up, and I'm going to let that simmer for about a 1/2 hour. We'll play with it and see. But mostly what I wanted to do is to get the potatoes al dente and to thicken up. And if in 20 minutes to a 1/2 hour it's not thickening, I'm going to make a little bit of a slurry. More, well, flour and water in this case. Cornstarch and water is easier to work with. I'll make a little bit of a slurry and add it to it. But first let's see what the potatoes do. Alright, I will be back shortly and we'll go on from there. Alright, welcome back. Been about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Potatoes are very nice. I did end up adding a little slurry to it, but it wasn't much. Tablespoon or 2 of cornstarch and a little bit of water, and we've got the nice thickness that I'm looking for. It's going to vary with potatoes and grease levels and all kinds of things. As I said, the measurements are the first time for me. Before I just eyeballed everything. I'm already thinking that the dill and the cayenne might have been a little too much, but it's not a big deal. Alright, so now I got my nice thick chowder. I'm going to add, you can use 1/2 and 1/2, you can use cream, you can use milk. What I've got in the house is I'm going to start out with 8 ounces of whipping cream, and then if I need to dilute it down any, I've got some whole milk back here. I turn the heat up slightly because the cream and the milk, of course, are cold. What I'm looking for here is a nice creamy appearance and white creamy texture and appearance here. I also noticed, as I kind of stumbled over myself there, I noticed as I'm stirring this, now that the white's in it, that there's still some butter separated. So this tells me that it wasn't a matter of not enough flour, it was a matter of too much butter. I will adjust that on the recipe below. I think I'll also adjust the cayenne and the dill. Other than that, we're looking pretty good. I don't mind if I've got a little extra butter floating on top. That's what the crackers are for. Okay. What I want to do now, taste. Because I'm thinking I don't need any milk. Go ahead and give this a taste. But basically what it needs to do is come up to temperature, give myself a nice simmer or a good boil. Then I'll take off the heat, I'll add the clams, I'll stir it, take it off the heat completely, stir it, and let the residual go ahead and warm up the clams, and it's ready to go. It's really important not to pound those clams with the heat. Just like a shrimp or any other seafood, they'll either tighten up and turn to rubber, or they'll just dissipate in mush. And again, whenever you taste your soups, whatever you're making, that you go to taste, don't taste the whole product. Just taste the juice or the sauce. That'll give you a better profile of flavor. Yeah, definitely too much cayenne. I can taste it, and that's not good. But surprisingly, what it needs is a little pinch of salt. Kind of surprised at that, but it happens. Yeah, I know the oysters still have to go in, and they might have some salt, but it needs enough that I can go ahead and put a pinch in there. And also what I will do, because the cayenne is strong, is I will add another tablespoon of lemon juice, and that will break up the heat. But other than that, I believe we are golden. It's nice and hot. Go ahead and kill my heat. Add my clams. And the clams too will suck up some of that heat. As I said, it's just a matter of, I don't want to taste the cayenne. That's not what it's about. And I knew when I dumped that tablespoon, when I was writing up the recipe, I was like, yeah, tablespoon sounds about, or I'm sorry, teaspoon sounds about right. In my head it seemed small. But when I dumped that teaspoon of cayenne pepper in there, I saw it spread across the surface. I was like, oh no. I'll probably actually drop it down to about a 1/4 teaspoon. So if you're not going to bother reading what's below, go to a 1/4 teaspoon, probably 2 teaspoons of dill, and cut the butter in half. So it'd be a half stick instead of a whole stick. And I think that would be golden. Of course, now keep in mind, I had some real nice fatty bacon ends that we made here. If you're working with a leaner bacon or a bacon that's already cooked, you might have to use that whole stick of butter. It's a little give and take on that one. But that is all there is to it. I hope you enjoyed making clam chowder. Not a lot to it. I am going to let it sit here and rest. I timed this, not bad. Brother Mike ought to be home in a half hour, and I'll have fresh clam chowder for his dinner. Because for Texas, it's cold out there. And this is a good chowder for a cold day. All right. Well, I thank y'all for stopping by. Again, have a wonderful and prosperous New Year. Be good to each other. Eat well. Have a great day. My remote's not working.